Coming up on this week's Pembroke Towncast, we've got some news of some new businesses opening in the town, a few events to discuss, a little bit of traffic news, and an important update from the town meeting regarding the skate park. Let's get on with it. Hello and welcome back to this week's Pembroke Towncast with me, Lee G. As per usual, on my own, everyone very welcome to join me. Been a bit of a strange week, but it's definitely felt like autumn has arrived this week. I mean, it's been a little bit crazy with the weather and what have you, but we've had some really, really good news coming from all sorts of places this week. So let's kick off with some of the news that's coming. So there's been a couple of new businesses opening. Some of them are a bit further along than others. So what was Bros Kitchen is now, I don't know whether it's AKA or AKA or whatever. But that's at the end of the town next door to Heat. Um, so that looks like that. I'm very excited by the prospect of takeaway loaded fries. I'll be honest with you. So yeah, that's coming. May well be open by now because they were doing a bit of work inside there over the weekend, so that might already be open. But it's not far off opening. Also at the far end of town. So I said this last week where the gourmet burger place next to Out. So it used to be a Chinese takeaway, or it was a takeaway of some sort that was there a while ago. So that's been gutted and re-put back together as a gourmet burger joint. I did write the name down, or I did try to write the name down, and I forgot it. So yeah, so as that gets closer to opening, we will obviously hear a lot more about that. Looks like you've spent a fair bit of cash in there getting that up to speed. And Cromwell's. So many of us of a certain age will remember Cromwell's or Crommies as a place to go on a Friday, Saturday night. Um, so that's going to be reopened as a cocktail and eating pub. What you call it, gourmet pub. Um, so yeah, that's a little bit further down the line by the looks of it. I mean, gutted that the pizza place didn't stay there because yeah, it was cracking. But hoping that we can have a little bit more stability there now. Yeah, so I mean, who doesn't love a cocktail? Who doesn't love a cocktail as a bit of fun on a Friday and a Saturday night? That'll be a great place to go. And we've got the old Lloyd's Pharmacy, so that got sold at auction not long ago, to be honest, but there's been a lot of work going on in there. Um, I don't know whether it's going to be reopened as a business or whether they're doing converting into flats or whatever. Wouldn't make sense to convert into flats. Converting into two or three shops, yeah, that makes sense because it's a big old space. But yeah, fingers crossed we'll start to hear something coming on that in the near future as well. So, those are all new businesses, all coming to Pembroke. Just fantastic. Just really, really fantastic to see, the investment that's going on in the town. There's a lot of work being done in the town at the minute. The barrage is having the update. We the visitor centre, which I know is, we've got 12 months, 2 years, maybe more work to do on that. But yeah, it's good to see that there's a lot of work going on in Pembroke at the minute. So yeah, big up to those. If you've got any more information about new business, and it doesn't need to be on the main street. It can be a new carpenter, a new plumber. If they're based in Pembroke, drop us a line. We'll give them a shout out because we're all about supporting local businesses. And there's always somebody that doesn't know. Yeah, I need a gardener. I need a plumber, I need an electrician, whatever it is. So yeah, drop us a line if you're opening a new business in Pembroke. Then we want to hear from you, and we'll give you a shout out. And that's any of the villages around Lampthe, Monkton, Castle Martin. Drove through Castle Martin today. I'll tell you about Fresh West in a minute. Um, yeah, Handleton, and Angle, wherever your business is, if it's opening, give us a shout. We'll drop a line for you. So yeah, before I talk about traffic and whatever, so I was out at Fresh West today. Thought I'd take the dogs for a walk. Lovely day, it was a sunny day. Forecast was good. So I thought, yeah, it's been a while. Um, and if anyone wonders why Freshwater West, well, the National Trust are considering putting in a pay and display car park, today would be the day that would demonstrate why there needs to be a pay and display car park in there, because traffic was parked, literally just anywhere. And the amount of damage that would have been done to the dunes today on the verges of that road was astronomical. So, um, yeah, I mean, I had to wait a good 5, 6 minutes. As I was driving past, somebody was about to come out of the car park. So I politely asked them, were they coming out of the car park? And they said they were. So I kind of waited. They came out, I drove in, but people were just kind of crashing up against the side and wrecking some of the dunes. So yeah, if you ever wondered why we need a car park out there, we need a bigger car park out there, a much bigger car park out there. Um, Paying display for me is just a no-brainer, because the amount of damage being done on the verges at the minute is um, beyond. Having said that, it was a lovely walk on the beach today. Lovely walk on the beach. Okay, so let's do a little bit of traffic. So there are two bits to talk about with traffic. One is Buttermilk Lane, and then the other one is the bottom of Ferry Lane, and the two are kind of connected. A lot of people using Buttermilk Lane at the minute as just to miss the traffic at the bottom of Ferry Lane. You'll miss the traffic lights down the bottom there, which is fine as long as you're respectful to the residents along Buttermilk Lane. That is where they live. That's their normal kind of where they go. So if you're honking it along there at 50, yeah, people are going to shout at you. That's by the by. Um, there is a there's works to be done for telephone lines across there. So I'm just going to share this. So this is John Harvey's Facebook page. So it's his constituency, territory, whatever you want to call it. So this was the first one. This came out on the 24th, which was the notice of closure. So the closure was going to be from 6 p.m. till 11 p.m., starting from 6th of October, to do works to uh, well, it says telecom lines. So I'm assuming that's broadband lines and bringing broadband to that kind of area of town, which is telecom cabling works, which is much needed on that. But obviously, with the work going on at the bottom of Ferry Lane at the minute, restricting that between 6 and 11 might just irritate a few people. So that notice came out on the 24th, and then we had this from John on the 26th, which would have been Friday. Yeah, so that would have been Friday. So following a number of legitimate concerns raised by residents on the closure of Buttermilk Lane for 3 nights. It's not closing overnight, it's from 6 till 11, but that's, peak time. Um, so the work has been suspended until the work at the bottom of Ferry Lane has been completed, which is great, but the town council is still putting this one out, the one where we've got the notice of the closure. So I'm going to assume that John's is right, and it's just hasn't filtered through yet. But yeah, you might want to just keep an eye on the town council page. until that gets clarified. It's a week away yet, so by next week's pod we'll have a definite answer. But I'm thinking that John's got it right here that it's going to be put off, suspended temporarily until the work's finished at the bottom of the lane. And that. So the second bit is the work at the bottom of Ferry Lane. So the update from Wales and West is that it will continue along London Road. Work will continue along London Road. What I have seen is they do kind of similar to what they were doing in Pembroke, um, where in Pembroke they would finish everything up on a Friday afternoon and then shorten the distance, shorten the space that was closed off over the weekend, and then open it up again on the Monday. What it looks like is happening in Pembroke Dock is, I mean, I was Saturday morning, I was there early-ish on Saturday morning, as early as you get on a Saturday morning if you don't have to get up. Um, and they were taking the traffic works away. So I think they kind of get to a Friday, finish off what they've got, make sure everything's sealed, and then it comes away for Saturday, Sunday, and then it goes back in Monday. Last week it did take a bit of time to go back in. So, it's one of those bits that I think is just gonna evolve as works progress. But which way they're progressing, I don't know, because the original notification said it would start at the roundabout. Well, the work was between the roundabout and the ambulance station. You know, turning for the ambulance station. So if they are going out on that, normally when they do that, they just refer to it as the A477, whereas London Road tends to be the other side of the Beers Pool roundabout, heading towards Tesco and towards the ferry. So, yeah, a bit more to find out on that, but hopefully, I've got a feeling they are going to go out towards the ambulance station because that was the road that was mentioned originally. It was going to be in between those 2 points, but we shall see as this week progresses, and we'll put some updates on the page through the week on that. Okay, so before we move on to the chatty bit, just want to talk about events very, very quickly. So I'm going to do a bit of a Halloween special next week. So yes, it's a month away, but yes, people do want to plan. So I know there's things kind of happening at Carew Castle and Manor House. But if you've got anything else that you want me to promote, then please do drop me a line and we'll do a little bit of a Halloween special next week so you can just start planning what you're going to do in time for Halloween on that. Okay, so if you're liking what you are seeing, then please do like us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is really, really important when it gets subscribers. At some point, it'll go a little bit nuts, which I'll tell you about in a moment. But there's loads of good stuff coming, and the more people who are subscribed to it, the quicker the algorithm works on YouTube, and it'll share it with more people in Pembroke and Pembroke Dock and things like that, and in Pembrokeshire with that. So yeah, if you're liking what you're seeing, please do like us and subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. So if you're thinking, oh, I quite fancy having a crack at this. There were loads of good messages from last week, loads of thank yous and what have you. Somebody said I'd lost weight, which which is a little bit weird. I can assure you I haven't. I put it on because I spend most of my time now staring at a screen instead of out walking with a dog, which is what I should be doing. But yeah, loads of good messages from last week. So thank you very much for it. It does make a massive difference. If anybody fancies joining us, you don't need any previous experience. You just need to care about our town. If you care about our town and you want to help improve our town, get involved, give me an email, drop me a message on Facebook or whatever. The email address is ilovetowncast@gmail.com and I will happily happily have you on and not have to do all the talking myself, which will be really, really nice. I can ask questions. I can ask questions of people and go, "What did you think of this? Tell me what you think of this." And it'd be really nice just to have a conversation instead of me talking to myself on a screen. Okay, so let's quickly move on then to the chatty bit for this week. So, chatty bit this week. Um, this is something that's kind of popped up and gone down and popped up again over the last few weeks, which is so last week there was a town meeting about the proposed skate park in the town. So I went and yeah, it was a nice group of people. It was you know, it wasn't the normal bunch of people that you would expect when you have a town project, which for me works really, really well. I think that's how the more different voices that we get involved, the more different opinions, the more different life experiences that we get involved in these sorts of things is better. I love the fact that we've got such a wide spread of experience and outlooks and all of that on there. So yeah, it was an initial meeting where we just discussed there was a someone from PCC just to talk us through the community side of it, what we're going to need to do, how we manage that. And then there was a bit of a chat between ourselves about what kind of skills we've got and what we were hoping to do. So the one thing that I know, and there's going to be loads more coming from this, loads more coming in the future. This is going to be a long project. It's going to be a long, long project, which even if we had somewhere that was virtually ready to go by the time you go through all the legal stuff, when you do fundraising, and even that is a long way down the track. And we're starting with no money and no location. Okay. So what we have got is a lot of experience and a lot of goodwill. There's a load of people in there that really want to make this happen, and yeah, fantastic. So yeah, my kind of appeal, if you like, is to more residents in the town to get involved, or just but you don't have to be involved in all of it. You can just volunteer to help out. You can just put your hand up and go, do you know what? When you need people for if you're doing fundraising stuff and you need stewards, I'll give up my Saturday morning, or I'll be available, or I can do this, or I can do that. I've got experience with this. I've got a contact that can help you with this. Um, those are the kinds of things that we will need. So it's been run by Aaron Carey, Councillor Carey. So if I'll share some of his stuff on our Facebook page as well. So you've got that there. You can contact him direct and say, I'd still like to be involved, and what could we do on this? So the bit that I'm gonna kind of talk about. So there's a couple of bits. So first of all, this has come about mainly because there's a couple of different kind of threads that have come to this bit where there's undoubtedly a lot of experienced skaters who live in Pembroke and visit other skate parks in various places, all around the country, and want one in their town. Cracking, no probs at all. That's good. There are a number of skate parks in Pembrokeshire already, but some of them work really, really well, some of them not so well. So we need to make sure that whatever we get in the end, it's one of the good ones. Undoubtedly, it needs to be one of the good ones. And the reason for that is, what you will have seen over the last couple of weeks is the increased police activity around the town. Okay, and this is something that we have touched on in the past, where guys on the bikes. I saw another one today heading towards Moncton. So yeah, great that we've made a start on it, but we need to keep up the pressure. We need to take those guys off the road and out of society one way or another. We all know what they're doing, and they're causing havoc. So there's those guys on the bike, but there's also quite a few kids that are going around causing issues in the town, let's say. So you may have seen again on Councillor Carey's page where the um the toilets next to the library are now going to have to be locked at 7 p.m. Yeah, so the door on the front has, I think he said it's going to be changed into a gate. And I think they said it'll be 7 p.m. They'll be closed now. And that's as a direct result of local kids misusing it. Um, if you've driven past there, you'll see a whole load of stuff on the floor, which is where kids run into the toilets, get the soak a load of toilet paper, and then throw it at cars. And it's not fun. It's not a fun, jolly thing because they're hitting cars. They're hitting the window. I've seen cars skid. I've almost well, seen an almost accident. You know, um, I've seen quite a bit of stuff there with those kids to the point where I had to get out of my car and shout at them because they were absolutely causing havoc. And it was a matter of time. I don't think they see the danger. They don't, you know, if people were traveling at 20, yeah, okay. It's the chances of them stopping but they're not, they're traveling at 40, 45. And they shouldn't be. I know they shouldn't be, but they are. And when you get hit with a something you don't know what it is, all you hear is a thud at the back of the car or the back of the van, or if you've got toilet paper hit the windscreen, which is one that I did see. It hit the windscreen of a little van, a low van. Um, yeah, that's scary if you're driving us. So there's been a fair bit of behaviour from youngsters, which has caused issues in the town. So it's like, right, okay, let's give you something where you can go and do you've got an activity, you've got a place to go where it is safe and where you will be monitored, which that's where the good ones are, where it's open, people can see you, so there's no dark corners where you can kind of hide and do stuff you shouldn't do. Okay, so that's kind of all of those kind of threads are kind of pulled together, and we're like, right, okay, let's go and do something. So the next step on that, okay, is to find the location. So this is where I'm going to ask you, my listeners, for a bit of help. And when I say ask you, yeah, is to really ask other people as well, is to share this far and wide. Because at the minute, there is no, we're going to do this. It's not like you start with a plan or a map of this. This is the skate park. Where can we put it? Okay. There's lots of different options of where you can put it and what you can do with it. It could be indoors. It could be on the outskirts of town. It could be in the middle of town. It could be on the commons. It could be part of a mixture of other things as well. Okay. And what I mean by that is it doesn't have to be just a skate. When we say skate park, we mean skates, bikes, scooters, they'll all be able to use it. There's no reason why we can't take that one step bigger and make it into a multi-use site. Okay, and that's my preferred option because there's more people involved in Pembroke to make that happen. Yes, it will cost more money, but more people would use it, and it would be much, much more of a community resource. The danger with this is it becomes a very niche bit, and then it just takes one bit of bad behavior from an idiot, and everyone that uses it becomes branded by that idiot's thing, which is quite common. If you're a member of a football team or member of the rugby team, where one of you one of the members of your team wearing your club jersey goes and does something stupid, then everybody in the club gets branded as being an idiot, because that's the way you are. So that's kind of the danger of going down a very narrow route. Um, and but having spoken to the guys that are committed to running this, that those guys are absolutely bang on the button about you know um, building a good reputation for skaters in the town, it being a place where people can come and feel safe. You can drop your kids there, go away, come back, pick them up later, and feel safe that you've done it. So that's the intention. My thought is, if we've got additional things there, if you've ever been to Narberth, if you play football or rugby or cricket, indeed, in Narberth, up by Bloomfield, you'll see that multi-use kind of small football pitch with climbing activities around the outside, basketball hoops. There's a load of different things and it's all safe. That isn't managed. That's there and that's looked after absolutely superbly. So, there are loads of different things that we can do, but everything comes with a little bit of a price tag. And that price tag is cash and goodwill and effort. So one of the bits that was brought up about could it go on the commons was, well, the commons always floods, and that's an issue, but it can be overcome. It just costs more money. We could actually do some real good down there, and we could improve the drainage and put a reservoir underneath the you'd have to go down to create foundations. If it was on the commons, so you'd have to go down into the commons to make foundations. You could then put uh, an overflow reservoir underneath it that then gets pumped out at low tide. All of these kinds of things. It just costs money, and that's the balance in between what do we do and are we going to be able to raise enough money to do that? That's where people get involved, and we can raise more money. The more people we have involved, the more money we can make. Blah 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 blah. Um, which kind of ties into some of the stuff we've already been talking about in the last, however many episodes about, doing town events. We've now got a purpose to raise money as a town event, so we could, let's say we were going to put a running track around the outside of the commons, an orange track, a green track, or whatever it is, just so people can go and run around the outside of the commons on a safe track. And that's going to go around the outside and that's going to go next. So you could then do what we were talking about before with the town lap. That's a genuine fundraising idea where everybody in the town we could have a day, an event in the town that would bring people into the town centre, and we could do a town event, and it would raise money for a town resource. So everything starts to knit together, but it relies on people. So one of the bits that we did speak about on Wednesday was, right, let's just blue sky thinking on locations. So there's a couple of obvious ones, yeah, a couple of obvious ones, but I'm going to ask you to go and look, not look, but let's get everybody's blue sky thinking about a really long list of locations. And they don't need to be council locations. They don't need to be commons. They don't need to be derelict. It might be a piece of land that somebody's willing to sell cheap. It may be, we don't know whether we're going to go indoors. We don't know if we're going to go outdoors. We could do a little bit of both. We could have an indoor area with a large outdoor area that might be covered. There's loads of different things that can be done. Nothing is on the table. Nothing is off the table. And what I know from the doing these kind of things in the start is you start with as many different options as you can, and you try not to rule out too many of them for too quickly. You try and do a little bit more. Let's have a think about this and this and this. So, while the group is getting itself up and running and establishing who's going to do what and why, and when we're going to meet and these kind of things, no reason why we can't start getting some ideas together for location. So the ones that we spoke about on Wednesday, it's obviously the Commons is the primary location. It's open, it's exposed. There's a nice big area there at the minute that is kind of used, but not really. Yes, lots of people walk their dogs around there. There's other space around where we can walk dogs. I walk my dogs there. If there was uh, a bit in the middle, okay, you can't walk your dog around there. You can walk your dog around the outside and elsewhere. That to me, that's fine. It's a small price that's worth paying. Um, so there's that. There's Eastgate School, which anyone that's been in there will know that's got issues. So I mean, we kind of ruled it out unless somebody's willing to say, right, okay, I can do a whole lot of work in there to make it safe and habitable or whatever. Okay. Then there's the church, which is kind of behind the home shop, in that little gap by the car park there, opposite Crossroads. That's a kind of the triangle. So that church, I'm wanting to say it's St. Michael's just because it's St. Michael's Walk, but I might be wrong on that. So don't quote me on that. But that church um, backs down onto um, the mill pond, which has got its own kind of, that will be kind of funky. There's already a bank there, so a lot of the stuff with skaters is up and down. So there could be a connection between Main Street and Mill Pond. There could be additional bits along Mill Pond, and there's lots of different options that that place kind of gives, as well as being indoors, and having an outdoor area. And it kind of wouldn't be as open and exposed as the other sites, down on the commons. You could leave it open and people could go and use it as and when, whereas that site would need to be locked and closed because it's indoor. So there's pros and cons on those. But one thing we did discuss is, what other places are there? What are the other options? Um, so yeah, if you can spread that word far and wide, what are the options? Um, that would be grand because it would really help to get that group up and running and started and in a place where you can go, do you know what? We've got something here. The hardest thing with these is getting going and getting a bit of momentum. Now, just read in the room on Wednesday night. There's a lot of goodwill. There's a lot of people in that room with a lot of good skills and a lot of desire to make a skate park happen. Um, there's a there's a massive gap between the desire to and actually making it happen, and that's where other people. I'm not a skater. I've never I had a skateboard once when I was young that my granddad bought for me. Um, but yeah, doing tricks and all of that, no, not for me. Um, so yeah, it's very much those people involved have got that strong desire to make it happen, but it's going to take a lot of other people to kind of support them to make that vision. Or we could get more people involved and make it something a bit bigger again. So that's where you guys come in. That's where you guys come in, and let's share the pod so we can get more people. I can ask more people, can you come and do it? I'll try and clip some of these bits out of here to we're asking, do you know of any sites in and around Pembroke that might be available for a skate park or a multi-use community site? There may be other community groups out there that are looking and going, well, do you know what? We've been looking at putting I don't know, a climbing wall up. Yeah, we just seen the guys at Paddle West, um, secure their funding to do a community, asset transfer type thing, a long-term lease on the paddle shed down on Castle Pond. So there's other groups within the town that are doing things, um, and it may be that it's time to some of that work come together, create. What I'm saying is, let's share what we've got and see who we can get involved because I think that's the way forward. The more groups, the more people that we can get involved, the easier it will be to actually get something happening, and the easier it'll be to raise the money that we need to make that happen. So the bigger our idea is, the more money we're going to need, the more money we need, the more people we need, the more people we need, the more goodwill we need, and the more we need to share the appeal. So we get loads of people involved at the start. Some will drop out, some will join halfway through. But yeah, let's get it out there and make some progress on that. So that is my appeal from the chatty bit this week. So share the pod, share the posts. I'll put a few other posts out there as well about, are there places that we can find, but please share them. We need a really, really long list. And if you fancy getting involved, you can either message Councillor Carey or you can message myself and we'll find a way of getting you involved with that. Okay, let's have a look at some sport. So on the rugby front this week, there was it was cup competition this week. So Pembroke should have been playing Langham, but got away with a walkover on that one. Langham couldn't field a team, which at this stage of the season is quite normal, particularly for the smaller sides like Langham, maybe even St David's, where it's hard enough to get a team every week. So playing in the national cups as well is very much a secondary kind of a thing. So yeah, Pembroke through to the next round on that against Langham on there. So I'll have a quick little look at fixtures coming for next week then. So fixtures for the 4th of October. Pembroke aren't on there. So no game for Pembroke next week. I don't know why that is. Oh, I'll tell you why it is. It's because there's an odd number in the table. That's why. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. Yeah. So it's Pembroke's bye week this week. Week after that, the 11th. There you go, Pembroke against Langham again. So league match, so that will be played, even though they've had a walkover against Langham this week. Okay, let's do a little bit of football. What I will start doing in future is I'll look into the youth rugby and things like that. So just not quite there at the minute on that one. And Pembrokeshire League Division 1. Here we go. So Pembrokeshire League Division 1 results from last week. So Swifts beat Merlin's Bridge 7-3. Carew lost 3-2 away in Narberth. Penner Robbins is more of a Pembroke Dock kind of thing, but they drew 2-2 at Tenby. So fixtures coming up then. No game for this weekend. So there must be cup competitions going on this weekend. So 11th of October. So the next league game. Moncton Swiss will host Narberth and Carew will host Goodwick on those. Okay, into Division 2. So again, for weekend just gone, Carew Reserves lost 5-0 at home to Johnston. Moncton Swift Reserves lost 3-2 away in Herbernston on that one. Fixtures for 11th of October then. would be none of them at home. So Kira reserves. Hang on, isn't that just what they just did? Kira reserves against Johnson. Oh, right. Yeah. Return. No. Yeah, return fixture on that one. That's a bit weird, isn't it? So Kira reserves will travel to Johnson and Moncton Swiss reserves are away in Neyland. That one threw me a little. Division three for this week. I don't think we had anybody in Division three. It was Pembroke Borough and Loreni was the kind of the closest ones there, where Loreni beat Pembroke Borough. So no real need to look at fixtures. But if you were kind of interested, Loreni travel to Letterston on the 11th of October. Now, a quick look in Division 4. Okay, so in Division 4, we've got a few more teams in Division 4. So Angle beat Prendergast Villa 5-1 at home. St Florence beat Manorbier 6-2 away, and Hundleton took an absolute pounding uh, away in Newport. So Newport 11, Hundleton 3. I mean, to score three when you've got 11 against you is that's a bit of a crazy one. But yes, so fixtures for the 11th, Hundleton host Milford United Reserves, Newport Tigers host Angle. That's a bit of a trek for Angle. And St Florence host Leyland on that one. Division 5, I can't remember if we've got anybody in Division 5. But, but Loreni Reserves, there we go. So we've got Loreni Reserves lost 2-0 at home to St Clair's. Pembroke Borough lost 2-1 to Milford United Thirds. That's the Borough Reserves, that was. And I think that is it from there. So Loreni Reserves play Prendergast Villa. And where are we? Where are we? Yeah, Borough Reserves play St Clair's Reserves on that one. Those are fixtures for the 11th of October. So again, I know there are loads of other sports going on in and around Pembroke. I know there's hockey, I know there's netball, octopus, badminton, tennis. Then we've got all the indoor stuff with skittles, and then we've got pool and darts and all of those kind of things. If you want to send me, even if you just send me the links of where I can find information, then I'll happily read them out. Even better, if that is your thing, come and join me. Even if it's just to do the sports reports, then it would be great to have somebody on board and not listen to my voice whining on all the time. Which brings me to the good point of finishing off this week's pod. So I thank you once again for your time and attention. It is greatly appreciated. Thank you once again for all the messages this week. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll have some good news about the pod to share with you next week. Uh, what I know I've got loads of people interested in doing podcasts, towncasts in places like Carmarthenshire, Ceredigion, Aberystwyth, Mid Wales, North Wales, a couple of places around Cardiff and the Valley areas and those kind of things. So there's loads of places that are like, oh, this is a great idea, let's do it. So I really want to make this a Pembrokeshire thing. So if you're listening in Pembroke, come and join me. If you're listening and you kind of living in another part of Pembrokeshire, then yes, I want to set up a towncast for your town as well. So by all means, get involved. Drop me a line. I love towncast@gmail.com. I will happily spend the time to get everything up and running with that one. So that is it for this week. I will be back next week with a Halloween event special. Drop me a message if you've got anything going on, or tag me in a post if you see something that you think is worth putting in there. That will be great. That will be fan and dabby dozy. Help me a lot. And until then, let's make Pembroke proud. All the best.